Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Cycle on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Mukhtar Kasim. A quick reminder, Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, Star Times channel 276 and Free TV. We begin from the National Assembly, where the Senate has again rejected a motion seeking an independent legislative investigation into the controversy surrounding the Presidential Economic Advisory Council, Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council, and its alleged Director General Adeniyi Adeyemi. Senate President Godswill Akpabio ruled that the matter was already before a court of competent jurisdiction and under investigation by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC) on President Bola Tinubu's directive, making a separate Senate probe unnecessary. Senator Suleiman Kau, who sponsored the motion, insisted the National Assembly still had a constitutional oversight responsibility despite Adeyemi's ongoing prosecution over alleged forgery, fraud, and impersonation. Meanwhile, the Senate has approved a 50 million naira donation to the families of the 5 Nigerians who lost their lives during the rescue operation that freed school children abducted in Oyo State after 56 days in captivity. The resolution followed a proposal by the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, during plenary. Senators unanimously endorsed the donation, with each of the 5 buried families to receive 10 million naira each. Speaking during the session, Akpabio recalled that the Senate had on Tuesday commended President Bola Tinubu and the nation's security agencies for the successful rescue of the abducted children and teachers. He also praised the Chief of Army Staff, the Director General of the Department of State Services, the Inspector General of Police, the Minister of Defense, and President Tinubu for their roles in the operation. According to him, although the rescue mission was successful, it came at a significant cost with the loss of security personnel and teachers. In a related development, the Senate has disclosed the identities of 4 security personnel who were killed and another injured during the operation that rescued abducted pupils and teachers from the terrorist den in Orire local government area of Oyo State. The upper chamber also urged the federal government to sustain military operations against terrorists, kidnappers, and bandits nationwide. It also called for the prompt payment of death benefits, insurance claims, pensions, and other entitlement to the families of the fallen personnel. The resolution followed the consideration of a motion sponsored by the Senate leader, Opeyemi Bamidele, and co-sponsored by 108 other senators. The leadership of the National Assembly has called on Nigerians to take a greater interest in the legislative process by reading proposed laws, participating in public hearings, and engaging lawmakers before criticizing Parliament's decision. Speaking at the 2026 National Assembly Open Week in Abuja, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, said many criticisms of the National Assembly are driven by misinformation, urging citizens to study bills and act before making judgment. National Assembly correspondent Anyete Patrick reports.
The National Assembly officially commenced its 2026 Open Week in Abuja, with the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, declaring the 3-day event open under the theme 3 years of the 10th Assembly, Advancing Transparency, Inclusion and Reform. Akpabio also defended the passage of the State Police Constitutional Amendment, explaining that the proposal followed more than 2 years of consultations, retreats, and public hearings across the country.
So I want to encourage all of us that democracy flourishes when citizens remain active participants in the work of the Parliament. The distance between Parliament and the people should never again be measured in walls or gates, but only in the willingness of citizens to walk through those doors.
Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, said the 10th House has recorded its highest legislative output since 1999, considering 2,747 bills, passing 363 and securing presidential assents for 72 within 3 years. The Speaker said the proposed law contains safeguards against abuse, provides accountability measures, protects fundamental rights, and sets constitutional requirements for states seeking to establish state police.
Our lawmaking demands that we strengthen the mandate of the institutions we already have and reduce the cost of government. We have noted this and are correcting it. Constructive criticism is critical to good lawmaking.
Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, stressed the need for greater transparency in lawmaking, saying citizens should understand how laws are made, how public funds are appropriated, and how legislative oversight protects national interests. He also called for broader participation by youths, women, persons with disabilities, civil society, professional bodies, and private sector.
Legislature must continue to hear from young Nigerians, hear from the women, hear from persons with disabilities, civil society, the private sector, professional bodies.
The European Union Ambassador to Nigeria, Gotai Mingnot, and the British High Commissioner, Dr. Richard Montgomery, described the Open Week as an important platform for strengthening transparency, citizen participation, and democratic accountability. They also reaffirmed support for Nigeria's democratic institutions and preparations for credible 2027 general elections. Stakeholders at the National Assembly Open Week say sustained dialogue between lawmakers and citizens will strengthen democracy, improve accountability, and build greater public confidence in the legislative process. From the National Assembly, Annie Patrick, Global TV News.
From the National Assembly, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Joash Amopitan, has sought the support of the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission for increased and consistent funding to the commission. Amopitan said this when he led a team on a visit to the commission's chairman, Dr. Mohammed Bello, in Abuja. He said improved welfare conditions would boost staff morale and strengthen public confidence in the commission's electoral outcomes, and called for improved infrastructure funding as well as adequate investment in electoral technology and personnel training. He said this would strengthen the commission's operation ahead of the general election next year and beyond. The federal government is strengthening preparedness against Ebola virus disease with the inauguration of a communication and diplomacy subcommittee under the Presidential Task Force on Ebola. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, who stated this at the inauguration in Abuja, reassured Nigerians that there is no confirmed case of the disease in the country. Global TV's foreign affairs correspondent, Ramzi Enoch Agbo, reports.
The Presidential Task Force was established by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and is chaired by the Chief of Staff to the President to coordinate Nigeria's preparedness against Ebola virus disease and other emerging public health threats. He says the inauguration of the Communication and Diplomacy Subcommittee is a proactive step to strengthen public awareness, enhance risk communication, and deepen collaboration with local and international partners in preventing the spread of the disease.
Let me express our profound appreciation to His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for his foresight in establishing this Presidential Task Force. This proactive decision reflects the administration's commitment to protecting the health and well-being of Nigerians through preparedness, coordination, and timely action. It is always better to prepare before a crisis than to respond after one has emerged.
The minister assured Nigerians that there is no confirmed case of Ebola virus disease in the country and urged the public to remain calm while adhering to health advisory issued by relevant authorities. He disclosed that surveillance has been strengthened at points of entry. Health facilities have been placed on heightened alert, and measures have been intensified nationwide. He further stressed that all public communication on Ebola would be evidence-based, scientifically validated by the NCDC, and aimed at preventing misinformation and unnecessary public anxiety.
Let me assure Nigerians that there is currently no confirmed case of Ebola virus disease in Nigeria. Our responsibility is to ensure that government speaks with one clear and coordinated voice, guided by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, the country's technical authority on disease prevention and control.
The committee also adopted a national communication strategy aimed at expanding media engagement and intensify public awareness campaigns in major Nigerian languages to ensure timely and accurate dissemination of information. Ramsey Enoch Agbo, Global TV News.
The federal government has completed the evacuation of Nigerians affected by xenophobia attacks in South Africa with the arrival of the final government-sponsored flight carrying 308 returnees. The aircraft landed at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. It conveyed 3 Nigerian government officials who coordinated the evacuation exercise. Footages of the arrival showed dozens of returnees, including women and children and families carrying luggage, disembarking from the aircraft and being received by officials at the airport. Many appeared exhausted but relieved as they moved through processing areas, while the airport personnel coordinated their arrival and assisted them with onward movement. The Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Bianca Odumegu Ojukwu, said the latest batch brought the total number of Nigerians evacuated from South Africa to more than 1,500. In a statement posted on her X handle, she said the final evacuation flight departed the OR Tambo International Airport in Johannesburg at 6:30 a.m. South African time. The Federal High Court in Abuja has ordered the final forfeiture of more than 40 properties linked to former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, after ruling that the assets were reasonably suspected to have been acquired through unlawful activities. Justice Joyce Abdulmalik disclosed objections filed by Malami, members of his family, and companies linked to the properties, holding that they failed to justify the legitimacy of the funds used in acquiring the assets. Although some properties were exempted from the order, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) had sought the forfeiture of properties valued at about 212.8 billion naira located across Abuja, Kaduna, Kano, and Kebbi states. Meanwhile, a federal high court in Abuja in Maitama has granted bail to former chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal, Danladi Umar, in the sum of 100 million naira, with one surety in the like sum. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) arraigned Umar on 9th July on a 4-count charge of alleged conferring undue advantage to himself while serving as the chairman of the tribunal and the chairman of the Tribunal Tender Board. During the proceedings, counsel to the accused, Sunday Edward, prayed the court to admit the defendant to bail in the like with the Section 36, subsection 5 of the Constitution and Section 162, 163 of the ACGA pending the determination of the suit. The prosecuting counsel, Christopher Michelia, however, opposed the application for bail, urging the court to discontinue bail and order an accelerated hearing. Gunmen have abducted the principal of Government Secondary School, Oluwa, a National Examination Council ad hoc staff member, and 4 students during the ongoing NECO examination in the Dekina local government area of Kogi State. Security sources say the attackers invaded the school while candidates were writing the examination and escaped before security operatives arrived. Although one of the abducted students has since been rescued, a joint security team has launched search and rescue operations and intensified surveillance to secure the release of the remaining victims and apprehend the kidnappers. You're watching the live broadcast of News Cycle. News Cycle continues after this weather forecast, plus business, foreign and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us.
Thank you for joining us. This is the 24-hour cumulative rainfall forecast for Thursday, showing showers and thunderstorms will continue across much of the country, with rainfall ranging between light to moderate over the northern and central regions. Parts of Kano, Jigawa, Bauchi, and parts of Kwara State are expected to receive between 50 to 20 millimeters of rainfall. The heaviest rain, however, will be concentrated much across the southern half of the country and the coastal regions. Moderate to heavy rainfall is expected, with the southeastern coast expected to likely record the heaviest total, locally exceeding between 150 to 200 millimeters. Areas at greatest risk include Rivers, Bayelsa, Imo, some parts of Abia, Imo State, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, and other coastal cities. With these rainfall amounts expected over the next 24 to 48 hours, there is an increased risk of flooding. Residents in vulnerable areas should remain alert, avoid flooded roads where possible, and follow advice from local authorities. Thank you for watching.
Welcome back from that break, and now to business news. The National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) says Nigeria's headline inflation rate has declined marginally to 15.91% in June from 15.93% recorded in May. The Bureau says this is the first decline in 3 months, with the month-on-month inflation rate also dropping to 1.66% from 1.75% in May. It adds that the figures indicate a slower pace in the rise of average prices compared to the previous month. Independent petroleum marketers and energy experts have opposed Dangote Refinery's decision to price petroleum products in United States dollars, warning that the move could increase pressure on the foreign exchange market and fuel price instability. The Petroleum Product Retailers Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria says the policy could encourage dollarization of the economy, while the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association urged the federal government to sustain the crude for naira arrangement. However, some energy experts argue that the refinery's decision is a commercial response to foreign exchange risk associated with crude oil procurement and refinery operations. And now to news making rounds. On the foreign scene, 6 allies of former Malian transnational president Bah Nwa are stranded trial in Bamako over an alleged coup plot nearly 5 years after the arrest. The defendants, including former Security Chief Colonel Kassoum Goita and former Presidency Secretary General Kalilu Doumbouya, denied the allegations and claimed they were abducted, tortured, and detained without due process. Their lawyers described the case as politically motivated and say the trials offer the first opportunity to challenge the charges in court. Sierra Leone has withdrawn treason charges against former President Ernest Bai Koroma over his alleged involvement in the failed 2023 coup attempt. The Attorney General's office says criminal proceedings have been discontinued, clearing the way for Koroma to return home from Nigeria whenever he completes his medical treatment. The decision comes after the former president was charged in 2024 following attacks on military and police facilities that left more than 20 people dead. Over now to Iran, where the government has threatened to block additional regional trade routes as the United States launched another round of air, drone, and naval strikes on Iranian military targets. Iran's Revolutionary Guards warned that the Strait of Hormuz would remain closed until Washington halted what it described as acts of aggression, while the United States says its latest attacks targeted coastal defense systems and missile facilities. The renewed confrontation has heightened concerns over global energy supplies, with oil prices rising sharply as tanker movement through the strategic waterway slowed. And now to the exciting world of sport. Nigeria's Flying Eagles have been drawn alongside Ghana, Togo and Burkina Faso in Group B of the 2026 WAFU B Under-20 Championship in Côte d'Ivoire. The regional tournament will serve as the qualifying competition for the 2027 Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations, with the top teams earning places at the Continental Championship in Ghana. Defending champions Nigeria will begin preparation next week as they seek another WAFU B title and qualification for the Africa Cup of Nations. Meanwhile, as part of their preparation for the 14th Women Africa Cup of Nations, which will begin in Morocco next Sunday, reigning champions Nigeria will face Ghana in an international friendly in Casablanca on Saturday. The 10-time African champions open camp in Casablanca, Morocco's commercial capital, as they stepped up preparations for their group opening C match against Malawi in Rabat on Tuesday, July 28. As of lunchtime on Tuesday, 10 players had arrived at the Super Falcons Hotel in Casablanca, with midfielder Tony Payne, who recently joined International Milan Women from Everton Women, expected to arrive on Wednesday. And finally, defending champions Argentina will face England in a blockbuster FIFA World Cup semi-final match tonight, with Lionel Messi hoping to lead his side closer to a second consecutive World Cup title. Argentina reached the last four after victories over Cape Verde, Egypt, while England relied on the attacking partnership of Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham to secure their place. The encounter will be the first competitive match between both nations since the 2002 FIFA World Cup. And that's it on News Cycle. Here is a quick reminder. Global Television is on DSTV channel 365, Star Times channel 276, and also on Free TV. Kindly follow us across all our social media platforms now displaying on your screen by using @Global TV NG. I am Mukhtar Kasim. Saying a very big thank you for watching.